Hello, friends! The year 2024 promises to be full of interesting and cool games. Many games will be released on all platforms, which is good news, but today I'm going to show you the top games of 2024 on PlayStation 5. Before you start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like it. It helps the development of the channel and content. Let's get started! Tekken 8 is the 8th main installment in the Tekken series. It is a fighting game developed by Bandai Namco Studios and Arika and published by Bandai Namco Entertainment. It was announced on September 13th, 2022 via the PlayStation State of Play. The game was released on January 26th, 2024 for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series XS, and PC via Steam. Prior to the game's release, Katsuhiro Harada revealed, "This new entry will focus on the father and son showdown between Kazuya Mishima and Jin Kazama." Harada stated that Tekken 8 is set 6 months after Tekken 7 and will feature Jin Kazama as a focal point of the story. In a press release, Bandai Namco Entertainment stated the following: "This latest saga begins where the previous title left off, with a world mired deep in the devastating war between Kazuya Mishima and Jin Kazama. After suffering what seems to be a defeat from Kazuya, Jin faces his own fate. His mother, Jin Kazama, appears after her absence from the Tekken franchise to try and turn the tide in this blood feud." Stellar Blade is an upcoming action-adventure game developed by Shift Up and published by Sony Interactive Entertainment. The game is scheduled to be released for the PlayStation 5 on April 26, 2024. Stellar Blade is played from a third-person perspective. Combat focuses on grasping the attack patterns of enemies and countering with precise timing. Eve's beta gauge is filled by parrying and evading in combat. The beta gauge is spent to use skills, such as piercing super armor and enemy combo interruption. Eve also has a burst gauge filled through successive parries and combos, which can be used to activate buffs and powerful attacks. The game utilizes the PlayStation 5 DualSense controller's haptic feedback to deliver feedback on enemy attacks and weapon accuracy. Exploration features wall scaling and swinging on ropes for environmental traversal, with things to be found including extra costumes. The overworld has NPCs who can provide Eve with side quests, with the option of either taking them on or ignoring them. Scattered throughout the world are supply camp checkpoints, where the player will restore health and retrieve stored items, though doing so respawns all Naytibas in the surrounding area, similar to the meditation circles in Star Wars Jedi: Fallen Order. Light No Fire is a new fantasy experience from Hello Games, the studio responsible for No Man's Sky. Where that title sought to let you explore the infinite weirdness of the universe, Light No Fire wants to let you in on something more intimate, albeit no less expansive or ambitious. A procedurally generated multiplayer Earth. A true open world, built at scale to our own planet. A world that's full of fantastical color and strange creatures. A boundaryless space that is yet to be discovered, that you can leave a mark on, impacting any others who may stumble across your finds in the future. Hello Games is yet to set a firm Light No Fire release date, although there is a chance that it could launch sooner than expected. The title has already been in active development for around 5 years, from a small incubation team working outside of the ongoing evolution of No Man's Sky. Hello Games has indicated that it isn't interested in repeating the lengthy marketing campaign it undertook with its Space Sim, which existed in the public sphere for about 3 years from announcement through to release. Whether Light No Fire will release in 2024 remains to be seen, but don't expect this to be something that's teased for years to come. The Light No Fire platforms remain unconfirmed, although a Steam page for the upcoming co-op game is already live. A PC release seems certain then. As for whether it'll launch simultaneously on PS5 and Xbox Series X is still up in the air. No Man's Sky originally launched on PC and PS4, later arriving on Xbox One 2 years later, and it has maintained parity with updates and expansions ever since. Expect more details on where Light No Fire will be playable in the future. Skull and Bones is a 2024 action-adventure game developed by Ubisoft Singapore and published by Ubisoft. The game revolves around piracy and naval warfare, with a fantastical setting in East Africa and Southeast Asia during the late 17th century, the peak of the historical golden age of piracy. It was released for PlayStation 5, Windows, and Xbox Series XS on February 16, 2024, after multiple delays and developmental difficulties to mixed reviews. As of 2017, Skull and Bones was marketed as a tactical action game set in an open-world environment and played from a third-person perspective. Players take control of a customizable pirate ship and may choose to sail the Indian Ocean on a single-player campaign, or gather up to 5 other players to ally in player versus player gameplay in disputed waters. Wind positioning can be assessed to gain an advantage in battle. Players may collect additional ships throughout the game, such as sloops of war, frigates, and brigantines whose weapons include mortars, broadside cannons, and rockets. Ships can be charged into with brute force and boarded. The rate of inflicted damage is gauged by the health bar. A core component is the multiplayer mode Loot Hunt, where 2 groups of players are challenged in treasure hunting to further accumulate their riches. Each given ship's crow's nest is scalable for use as a lookout point, and spyglasses will be available. Another large part of the game is plundering forts and settlements. Vampire: The Masquerade Bloodlines 2 is an upcoming action role-playing video game published by Paradox Interactive. A sequel to Vampire: The Masquerade Bloodlines 2004. The game is part of the World of Darkness series, and based on the tabletop role-playing game Vampire: The Masquerade. The game was initially developed by Hardsuit Labs, but by 2021 had been moved to the Chinese room. It is scheduled to release for PlayStation 5, Windows, and Xbox Series XS in late 2024. The player takes the role of an elder vampire in 21st century Seattle, and chooses one of several vampire clans to belong to, determining their vampiric abilities. To sustain the player character and their abilities, they feed on human characters' blood while trying to avoid being discovered as a vampire, breaking the masquerade, the conspiracy within vampire society to hide their existence from mortals. Vampire: The Masquerade Bloodlines 2 is presented mainly from the first-person perspective. Before the game begins, players create a vampire character and can select a clan background that informs their abilities. The game takes place in Seattle, where the player may explore and interact with non-player characters in a variety of ways. The player will be able to ally themselves with different factions and deal with enemies in a variety of ways. As a vampire, the player character needs blood to survive and can feed on humans. Players are penalized for using certain vampiric powers, called disciplines, or feeding on blood in front of witnesses, which would expose their existence as a vampire to the mortal world. This is a violation of the Masquerade, and may result in changes to the gameplay. Tomb Raider: Either Third Remastered is a 2024 action-adventure video game developed and published by Asper. It is a remastered compilation of the first 3 games in the Tomb Raider series, originally developed by Core Design: Tomb Raider 1996, Tomb Raider 2 1997, and Tomb Raider III 1998. Remastered was released for the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Windows, Xbox One, and Xbox Series XS on the 14th of February 2024. The game received generally mixed reviews from critics. Tomb Raider 1-3 Remastered is a collection of remasters of the first 3 games in the Tomb Raider series: Tomb Raider, Tomb Raider 2, and Tomb Raider III. Each game features archaeologist-adventurer Lara Croft as she travels through a series of ancient ruins and tombs in search of ancient artifacts, and is presented from a third-person perspective. Like in the original games, Lara is equipped with 2 pistols with infinite ammo by default, and can run, walk, which prevents her from falling off ledges, look around areas, jump forwards and backwards, shimmy along ledges, roll, swim through bodies of water, and move blocks. The collection includes new features across all 3 games, such as options to choose between enhanced and original graphics and classic and modern control schemes, as well as camera lock-on, health bars for boss battles, photo mode, and over 200 achievements. Banishers: Ghosts of New Eden is a 2024 action role-playing game developed by Don't Nod and published by Focus Entertainment. The game was released for PlayStation 5, Windows, and Xbox Series XS on the 13th of February 2024. Upon release, it received generally positive reviews from critics. Banishers. Ghosts of New Eden is a third-person action role-playing game. In the game, the player assumes control of a pair of ghost hunters named Antea Duarte and Redmec Wraith. The pair goes on a mission to investigate a small but haunted community named New Eden, though Duarte becomes a ghost in the process. Players can make use of both Wraith's conventional weaponry and Duarte's spirit abilities to combat hostile enemies. In the game, players will have to make numerous choices, influencing the game's story. Prince of Persia. The Lost Crown is an action-adventure game developed and published by Ubisoft, part of Prince of Persia series. It was released for Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Windows Xbox One, and Xbox Series XS on the 18th of January 2024, and received positive reviews from critics. Prince of Persia. The Lost Crown is a 2.5D side-scrolling action-adventure platform video game. The game's protagonist, Sargon, can jump, slide, and air dash to travel between platforms. He wields a pair of blades, which he uses to defeat enemies. Well-timed parries help to charge Sargon's Athra's Glow, which allows him to unleash a special ability when fully charged. He has access to several time-based powers, which can be used in both combat and platforming. Rush of the Simurgh allows Sargon to instantly dash forward through time, while Shadow of the Simurgh allows him to place a shadow marker, which serves as a temporary checkpoint that players can return to instantaneously. Sargon can equip talismans that alter his abilities. The Lost Crown features Metroidvania elements, as the game world is interconnected and filled with shortcuts and secret rooms, and players must solve puzzles to progress. As players explore the game world, they can find time crystals, which can be used to purchase upgrades for Sargon's weapons. While players may not immediately have the tools or skills to overcome an obstacle, they can return to it once they have the means to overcome it. Players can take screenshots and pin them to the game's map, allowing them to recognize and remember unsolved puzzles they have encountered. Star Wars Outlaws is an upcoming action-adventure game set in the Star Wars universe, developed by Massive Entertainment, and published by Ubisoft under license by Lucasfilm Games. The game takes place during the period between The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. It is scheduled to release for PlayStation 5, Windows, and Xbox Series XS in 2024. Star Wars Outlaws is a single-player, third-person action-adventure game set in the Star Wars universe. Set in an open world, the game will feature stealth and open combat, vehicle combat, space combat, and branching dialogue. Set between the events of The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, outlaw scoundrel Kay Vess, portrayed by Humberly Gonzalez, and her companion Nix, portrayed by D. Bradley Baker, attempt one of the biggest heists the Outer Rim has ever seen. In a journey across several planets, including familiar ones like Tatooine, Kijimi, and Akiva, and never-before-seen ones like the moon of Tashara, which is inspired by the landscape of the Tanzania savanna. Black Myth. Wukong is an action RPG rooted in Chinese mythology. The story is based on Journey to the West, one of the 4 great classical novels of Chinese literature. You shall set out as the Destined One to venture into the challenges and marvels ahead to uncover the obscure truth beneath the veil of a glorious legend from the past. A world unseen, where new sights rise with every stride. Enter a fascinating realm filled with the wonders and discoveries of ancient Chinese mythology. As the Destined One, you shall venture through breathtaking landscapes in the classic tale of Journey to the West, creating a new epic of uncharted adventures. Black Myth. Wukong will release the 20th of August 2024. Warhammer 40,000. Space Marine 2 is an upcoming third-person shooter hack-and-slash video game developed by Saber Interactive and published by Focus Entertainment. A sequel to Warhammer 40,000. Space Marine, the game is scheduled to release for PlayStation 5, Windows, and Xbox Series X and Series S on the 9th of September 2024. In Warhammer 40,000, Space Marine 2, the player engages enemies using a mix of both melee and ranged combat from a third-person point of view. The player controls Titus, a lieutenant of the Ultramarines chapter. Titus is accompanied by fellow Space Marines Charon and Gadriel throughout the campaign, who can be controlled by other players in the game's cooperative multiplayer mode or by artificial intelligence in single player. Warhammer 40,000. Space Marine 2 releases September 9th, 2024 on PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown is an upcoming racing video game developed by KT Racing and published by Nacon. It will be the 21st game in the Test Drive series, the first title in the series since 2012's Ferrari Racing Legends, and the third game in the franchise's Unlimited reboot, following 2011's Test Drive Unlimited 2. The game was teased on the 3rd of July 2020 on Twitter and was officially revealed during the Nacon Connect event on 7 July. Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown is set to be released for Microsoft Windows, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series XS in 2024. Metal Gear Solid Delta. Snake Eater is an upcoming action-adventure stealth video game developed and published by Konami. It is a remake of the 2004 game Metal Gear Solid 3. Snake Eater, the fifth main entry in the Metal Gear franchise, and the first chronological game overall. Like the original, the remake is set in 1964 and follows a Fox operative codenamed Naked Snake, who must save a Russian rocket scientist and sabotage the Shagohod, a Soviet nuclear superweapon, while also clearing his country from Soviet suspicion amid Cold War tensions and confronting his former mentor, the Boss, who has defected to their side. Metal Gear Solid Delta. Snake Eater is the first major entry in the Metal Gear franchise since the release of Metal Gear Survive in 2018, when Konami first stopped publishing third-party console games in favor of mid-sized titles and mobile games. Their internal studio Konami Digital Entertainment developed the game, and Singaporean studio Virtuos provided support. The game was announced in May 2023 at PlayStation Showcase 2023. Metal Gear Solid Delta. Snake Eater is scheduled to release for PlayStation 5, Windows, and Xbox Series XS in 2024. Dragon's Dogma II is an upcoming action role-playing game developed and published by Capcom. A sequel to Dragon's Dogma, the game is scheduled to release for PlayStation 5, Windows, and Xbox Series XS on March 22, 2024. Dragon's Dogma II is an action role-playing game played from a third-person perspective. In the game, the player takes on the role of a character called the Arisen, a hero marked by a dragon who they must defeat, all while exploring the world they live in, taking on quests, and fighting monsters, in the process being caught up in a geopolitical conflict between two kingdoms. To assist in this, the Arisen relies on allies called pawns, non-playable characters who join the player's party. These characters are AI-controlled but function like player-controlled avatars, able to assist in fights, provide information on enemies, and give guidance to currently active quests. Players can each create and customize their avatar and their own pawn character with different genders, appearances, and race. In addition, players can recruit 2 additional pawns that have been created by other players. Rise of the Ronin is an upcoming action role-playing video game developed by Koei Tecmo's Team Ninja and published by Sony Interactive Entertainment. The game is scheduled to release for the PlayStation 5 on March 22, 2024. Rise of the Ronin allows players to create a custom character. Combat features a wide array of weapons common during the Boshin War, such as katanas and various Boshin War firearms. The game features story choices at key moments, allowing players to side with or fight against various non-player characters, affecting the story. Historic cities Yokohama, Kyoto, and Edo can be explored, as well as areas in the countryside. The player can traverse with various means, such as a horse, grappling hook, or glider. The game also features the ability to swap between 3 difficulties, as well as a 3-player cooperative multiplayer mode. Rise of the Ronin is set in Edo, in the late 19th century during Bakumatsu, the final years of the Edo period. The game depicts the Boshin War between the Tokugawa shogunate and various anti-shogunate factions displeased with the Western influence after the forced reopening of Japan following the Sakoku period. Final Fantasy Rebirth is an upcoming action role-playing game developed and published by Square Enix. It is a sequel to Final Fantasy VII Remake 2020 and the second in a planned trilogy of games remaking the 1997 PlayStation game Final Fantasy VII. Like its predecessor, the gameplay combines real-time action with strategic and role-playing elements. Set immediately after Remake's events, players control mercenary Cloud Strife and a party of characters principally comprising the eco-terrorist group Avalanche, who embark on a journey across the planet to prevent the megacorporation Shinra from exploiting its life essence, the Lifestream, as an energy source and defeat former elite soldier Sephiroth, who seeks to unite with the planet to achieve greater power. Rebirth entered production in November 2019 prior to Remake's release, and was announced in June 2022. All of the previous games' lead staff return in the same positions, but with Tetsuya Nomura as creative director instead of director, and Naoki Hamaguchi as director instead of co-director. Rebirth is scheduled to release for the PlayStation 5 on February 29, 2024. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is the second in a planned trilogy of games remaking the 1997 PlayStation game Final Fantasy VII. It begins after the events of Final Fantasy VII Remake 2020. Following the party's escape from the metropolis of Midgard, players primarily control Cloud Strife, a former Shinra soldier who joins the eco-terrorist group Avalanche to fight Shinra, who has been draining the planet's life energy and is drawn into a conflict with the legendary soldier Sephiroth, who has returned after being presumed dead. Like Remake, Rebirth reimagines elements of the original game while expanding upon character development and the overall narrative structure. That's it. I'm sure you found some new and interesting game for yourself. If so, subscribe to the channel and like it. It will help our development a lot. Also, write in the comments what game you're most looking forward to in 2024. Thank you all for your attention and see you soon.